Today, we're diving into a really cool youth movement happening in Fiji. They're trying to solve a huge challenge. How do you balance deep, thoughtful faith with real, passionate action? They call themselves the Warriors of Truth, and honestly, what they're building is a fascinating blueprint for anyone trying to figure that out.
You know that classic dilemma, right? Head versus heart. Do you get so wrapped up in studying that you kind of lose the fire? Or do you lean so hard into passion and experience that your faith doesn't have any solid roots? Well, a group of young people in Fiji looked at that gap and basically said, no, we don't have to choose. They're building a bridge between the two.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in Fiji, and this story isn't about established church leaders or old traditions. It's about a new generation deciding to step up and carve out their own path.
So, meet the Warriors of Truth. This is a totally grassroots, youth-led thing. It was started by William Jared Simmons, and it grew from this one powerful idea. They wanted to be gatekeepers of biblical truth, not just in church, but everywhere, at home, at school, in their neighborhoods.
And what's the fuel for this fire? It all comes back to this one verse from Hosea. For them, a lack of knowledge isn't just a minor issue, it's a massive problem. This idea, this conviction, is the engine driving their entire mission.
Now, this group didn't just pop up out of nowhere. They were actually responding to some specific problems they were seeing all around them. They've boiled it down to what they call 3 key imbalances.
Okay, so first up, they saw communities that were awesome at fellowship, great at hanging out, but maybe lacked a really deep understanding of their faith. All connection, but not a lot of substance. They call this no word, no zeal. Without that deep dive into Scripture, the real passion just isn't there.
Then, of course, you've got the total opposite. Tons of passion, tons of energy, but not much knowledge to guide it. This is zeal without word. It's an enthusiasm that can be easily misguided or just kind of fizzle out because it isn't anchored in anything solid.
And the final imbalance they saw was word without zeal. And this is that trap of, becoming a walking encyclopedia of faith who never actually does anything. It's all study, all learning, but it never translates into passion or a changed life. The knowledge just stays in your head.
So, after identifying these 3 extremes, the Warriors of Truth didn't just complain about them. They built a mission specifically designed to bring things back into balance. And their solution is actually pretty brilliant. It's a 3-part mission that directly counters those imbalances. First, know God through solid theology. That takes care of the no-word problem. Second, defend the faith, which gives all that passion a purpose. And third, discern truth, which makes sure that knowledge gets applied with wisdom. You can see how each step just builds on the one before it.
Okay, so that's the what. But how are they actually doing this? Well, they've set up their studies around 3 really specific pillars.
Pillar number 1 is theology. This is the bedrock. We're not talking about just surface-level beliefs here. We're talking about the systematic, rigorous study of the nature of God. This is how they build that deep knowledge they feel is so absolutely essential.
And listen, they are not messing around. They are diving headfirst into some really complex stuff like the nature of the gospel, the Trinity, and even debating different major viewpoints on salvation. That shows a real commitment to serious intellectual work.
So their second pillar is apologetics. You can think of this as the how-to part of their mission. It's about going from just knowing what you believe to really understanding why you believe it, and being able to explain that to other people in a clear and respectful way. And what's really smart is that they're not just learning one way to think about this. They're studying different methods, from evidential apologetics, which looks at historical facts and evidence, to presuppositional apologetics, which starts from the belief that Scripture is true. Learning both gives them this really flexible and strong toolkit.
Now, this final pillar might just be the most important one for their goal of discerning truth. It's called biblical hermeneutics. Fancy term, but it's basically the art and science of interpretation. Learning the principles to read and understand Scripture accurately, on its own terms.
And this right here is the heart of that pillar. They're learning the huge difference between exegesis, which is carefully pulling the intended meaning out of the text, and its opposite, eisegesis, which is when you accidentally read your own ideas and biases into the text. Mastering this is what makes someone a real gatekeeper of truth.
But here's the thing. This whole initiative isn't just some static study group. It's a living, breathing project, and they have a really clear vision for what's coming next.
I mean, their ambition is pretty amazing. They're planning to build out a full curriculum with modules, study guides, quizzes, the whole shebang. And it's all designed by youth for youth. But look closer. It's not just about hitting the books. They're building in practical challenges to actually live this stuff out and creating chances for members to step up and become leaders themselves. It's a self-sustaining cycle of learning and leadership.
So, in the end, the warriors of truth are out there, right now, actively building that bridge between deep knowledge and passionate action, between the head and the heart. They're creating a real-world blueprint for a balanced and resilient faith. And it kind of leaves you with a big question to think about. What could that kind of intentional balance look like where you are, in your community?